Board Member Belt.
Thank you, President Joy. Education is rather inundated with lots of acronyms, but there are two that Superintendent Schrum introduced in our strategic plan that I'm going to try to remember what they are. And the two of them are the PSOs and the PIMs. The PSOs are the priority student outcomes. We have a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, sitting in this seat, I won't speak for everyone else, criticisms of what are you doing about how poorly our students are doing? How are you filling the gap? And constantly there's a small number who will complain about what are you doing to move the outcomes? And is there accountability? And I want to say very clearly, I've said it before and I'll say it again, the amazing thing that I've seen happen in these last 2 years is that our superintendent has brought a culture of accountability that isn't punitive, it's developmental. And we're seeing it on every level. And you stated it so well in our strategic plan as well, that we want to assess things well and then realize that everything and everyone is held to account, not to put you on a, what we used to call that, the walk of shame, but to put you on a path of how can we do this better to have the outcomes that we're looking for. So the PSO, I'm going to emblazon that. I've already printed it out so that I make sure I remember what it is. And then the PIMs, the progress indicator metrics. And I'd like to remind everyone that something that I learned quite interestingly as our newest member of the board is going through his governance class, Masters of Governance. Something I learned from the pool of people that were on the Zoom when I did it 2 years ago was the idea that data informs us. And we should always be reminded, data informed, student driven. Because data is just data. It can just be numbers. But what do we do with it? And that's where we're turning the corner. We're looking at everything needs to be measured. And then how do we make it possible for students to increase and improve and grow in those measurements? And so I applaud those two more acronyms that we're going to try to remember and work with. It was mentioned last night, the mid-year graduation, we actually called it commencement time. It not only highlighted students who have come back to school to finish their GED or actually have diplomas from high school, but also certificates and I didn't write them down, but 7 different areas that are vocationally driven. So again, thank you, Tammy Olson and the whole staff at the adult school. You are creating and continuing to make us a culture of improving adults' lives. And it's amazing that's still part of Visalia Unified. And last night was pretty fun. Packed LJ Williams because it means so much. Every commencement means a lot, but again, it's even the more special for these families and friends. I want to give a appreciation note to both Principal Tompkins, Principal Taylor, and Principal Gonzalez Thomas, 3 of the schools that I had the opportunity to visit in the last few days in my trek to try to meet my goal to visit all 42 school sites in the school year. That's at Elbow Creek. Principal Tompkins was really fun. He asked us where you want to go. And our first place was, I'd like to see this library and its refresh. And what was really notable, of course, is the librarian that's been there, well, not as long as the school has been because it was built in 1858, but she has been there a long time. And she is so proud of the refresh that's been done there. And they still have the old wooden freezer or walk-in freezer from when it was a cafeteria many decades ago, just for looks. They don't put anything in there. It's also worth noting that Elbow Creek has this amazing community feel because it does have this multi-generational connection, but also there is something happening there, Adam, thank you, where they're actually seeing their outcomes increase. And that brings me to then Andy R. Mitchell, where Principal Taylor has also seen some growth, significant growth, particularly in sixth grade. We're seeing them doing better both at ELA as well as math. And then Principal Gonzalez Thomas, Goshen is an amazing community school with challenges, but there's a whole new feel there, just having been there several times in the last couple of years, and it's encouraging to see. And then last but not least was the UVA, University of Virginia training that we're seeing. It's trickling through. I mean, we only can send so many, but I also want to highlight when people hear that we have set a priority and spent money, a lot of money, and additional, because we're going to send our third cohort, we've also used money wisely. These are monies that doesn't come out of our general fund. It's not like, oh man, we're taking money away from other programs. We've used grant money to actually highlight, heighten, grow, develop principals and their staff. And we're seeing it have tremendous dividends. Because in the past, you became a principal mostly because you just had either a sparkling personality or a lot of energy, but not necessarily a lot of input about how to do what you're doing and how to actually grow and develop your staff. And that's what's happening. It's going to make a difference. It is making a difference already. Thank you again, Superintendent Schrump, for bringing that in. But again, I want to highlight, we're doing it with a very good, because the buck stops at Nathan's desk, because Mr. Hernandez's desk, that's why I came up with that today. The buck stops there, not just goes out from there, it stops. With fiscal responsibility, going, you know what, we're not just throwing money out to just train everyone. We are utilizing what's available, particularly one-time monies, to make a difference. So thank you again for everyone's effort, and pretty fun that Board Member Gamoyan got to see that.